Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This is another reaction for Miss Leanda B. And we just did Eric Grunwald singing The House of the Rising Sun. And this one is Disturbed singing Simon Garfunkel's Sound of Silence. And she says this one is heavy metal band Disturbed with David Draymond out front. David is a trained singer, and he's singing Simon and Garfunkel's Sound of Silence. Paul Simon was very impressed with this version. So, I think I've said it maybe last year that how cool would it be to be a singer-songwriter or even a songwriter and, have a famous song like Sound of Silence. And I've reacted to Sound of Silence on this channel 3 other times by all 3 different, by 3 different singers. None of them Simon and Garfunkel, but it's been pretty cool how each one understands and how they want to relate that song to the rest of us, in their own way. And so, man, I forgot where I was going with that thought, y'all. So I think I don't know what, sometimes I think I'm an idiot, but so let's just go into the intro and then right into the video, and maybe I can regather my thought on that, or maybe it's gone forever, but I'll come up with something that we can talk about in the middle. So again, let's just go right into the intro, y'all.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its scenes while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp.
Interesting.
When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share. And no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fool said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you.
Very good.
Take my arms and I might reach you. But my words, like silent
I got to wow, what a where I paused it at. What is this guy's name? It's David Draymond. David Draymond is a trained singer. Yeah, I can believe that. He's a trained performer and a trained actor as well, because he's pulling out some anger. But first of all, let me talk about this song. And this song has been out since the 60s, I believe, late 60s, mid 60s, somewhere in there. I think it could be early 70s. I mean, I don't know right off the top of my head. But what I'm trying to say is that when he just said 1,000 people, maybe more, and they're talking without speaking, and they're hearing without listening, so are they talking telepathically? Yeah. The thing is I never gave it any thought until I watched this guy singing this one, and what are they trying to convey to us? What are they trying to tell us about these people that are talking without speaking or hearing without listening? What exactly does that mean? I don't know. Maybe I'll pick this up at the end of the show. I mean, of the song here, and decipher that a little bit more and see what y'all think. So let's get back to it. Whispered the sound of silence. Man, that's a pretty big. God, man. There's some songs that make you think. There's a song, American Pie, and all through that song, it's relating to certain things. You just got to figure out what it is they're relating to, right? This is one of those where I'm not really sure. I mean, I know what I think they're talking about, man. So I've watched. I told you all this in the middle of this reaction, that I've seen some of these shows. It's called Near Death Experience, right? And almost, if y'all have never seen any of those, you might want to watch them, I mean, and make up your own mind exactly what we're listening to. But what I get out of it is regardless of what part of the globe that you come from, there's people who have, died, clinically dead, no brain activity, no heart move, and doctors are working on them. They're trying to pump their hearts, and they're trying to keep them alive, and they're putting machines on them, and they're doing everything to bring these people back. But while they're doing that, the person has left their body. They've described how they are hovering above their body, and they can see the nurses and the doctors frantically working on their body, and they're hanging out for a few moments, I guess. And predominantly all these stories are pretty damn similar. A little bit of different nuances to them, but most of them are similar. So it gets you thinking, there's something to this. So anyway, after they're in this hover for a while, and then they leave the building and they're in the presence, and I'm condensing this down as much as I can. Then they're in the presence of what some would call God, or a greater power, the creator, whatever that means to you or doesn't mean to you. And that, they get this overwhelming sense of smell and colors and senses, and they feel this overwhelming warmth of love that has enveloped them, and they don't really have a conversation with this entity, whatever it is, but it's conveyed. I don't even know if telepathically is the correct term, but they know what's being said without seeing anybody say anything or hearing anybody say anything. They just sense it, I guess. And then they're responding, but they don't have a body. It's just their soul. And so are we, they're responding back to this wonderful presence, asking them questions, and am I dead, or where's the family that I've had that's gone on before me, or whatever the case may be. But they're not actually saying it. They are, but they're not physical. That's what I should say. Maybe they're physically, because there's nothing physical to them anymore. That physical body is laying in a hospital bed and is being thumped on, by a machine or by doctors trying to start the heart. And sometimes these doctors will, God bless them, man. They'll stay at it for an hour. They'll take turns, doing CPR, and they just don't want to quit. They don't want to give up. They don't want to lose this life. And these people, for some reason, they're told it's not their time. And make a long story short, they end up back in their body, and they're pissed off. They're absolutely pissed. They have a family and everything's going good in their life and all that, but they're so mad that they got sent back to this world. They wanted to be where they had been sent back from. So if y'all get a chance, you have to make up your own mind whether you believe in things like that. I personally believe in that. I personally believe that there's a better place once we're done here, once we paid our dues here, and the Lord, is ready for us to go home or whatever. I believe that there's another place. I don't believe you just die and you're worm dirt and your existence was just a stroke of biology. I don't believe that for a minute. I think your soul goes on. I truly do. We won't know on this earth. You can only hope. I hope I see my my family that's gone on. I hope that when it's time for my children and my wife, to follow me, I hope that we're reunited. That's all we can do in this life. I will tell you, it makes you less fearful of man. If you're a police officer or if you're in the military, it's a dangerous occupation. Or not only those two, there's a bunch, working on a barge, or, working, a fireman, or anything that's predominantly dangerous. Working on the aircraft carrier, they say that's the second most dangerous thing. Working in an oil well or an oil dike, those are all super dangerous. So I don't want to take any thunder away from anybody that works in a dangerous job and has learned to cope with a fear. But I think one of the fear coping mechanisms that is universal, and in those of us who had these high, had a high rate of danger. I think a lot of us put our well-being in God's hands. I mean, when you get a radio call from dispatch saying that there's a domestic disturbance going on where the husband has shot his wife, for instance, and the wife's on 911 and she's barely making it, and she's telling the dispatch, he said the cops aren't taking him alive. You still got to go. You still got to go, man, and you still got to go quick. And you got to suck up that fear. And don't get me wrong, everybody, I don't care who you are, you're afraid the whole way there. You're afraid for your physical being. You're thinking about your own family. How are they gonna make it without you or something? And you're thinking to yourself, man, did I put everything in place in case this doesn't go well for me? I mean, there's a lot of thoughts that go through your mind. So I think if you grab a hold of the thought that if something does happen to you, you go on to this better place. Yes. For people like me, I would think that I don't want to leave my family. I'm a family man. I'm not a man of possessions. I'm not a man of, money. I'm not a man of anything other than a man who deeply grounded in his family. And so the thought that, that I'd be able to, to watch over them and not think, if something happens to me, that's it. It's done. They're defend for themselves. I think is a little too hard to grasp. And maybe I wouldn't have, just charged right into the fray, and I've told you all this before, man, not to get it twisted, that thank God, luckily for me, no one's ever, in when I was a police officer, I never had anybody try to kill me. There's some police officers not so lucky, but there's been hairier times. I'll give you that, but I think looking back on it, it wasn't as bad as maybe I thought it was in the mix of things. But I always had this not fear. I always had this hope, and what kept me moving forward was the belief that God's got this. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. But I'm here to save, and that's what I'm supposed to do. I mean, it's a noble cause. So I mean, if there's a greater being out there, and somehow or another I'd lost my life doing something noble to help somebody, I think there would be a place for me in heaven. So. I mean, I won't know until it's my time. Maybe it is. Maybe this is all there is. I don't know. I just, in my heart, I believe there is something that we go on to, whatever that may be. Whatever denomination you are, whatever. I'm not trying to be religious here. I'm just trying to tell y'all how, when I was in the Marine Corps, I felt the same way. Okay, we got to go. I don't fear like you would think people would fear, and neither did my friends. I was with some solid guys in the Marine Corps, and I never once saw any of them show one iota ounce of fear ever. Yeah, so those guys are my heroes, I'll tell you that. All right, so got off on a tangent, but what made me think of that is these people that do these near-death experiences say that they're able to communicate, but it's not talking, it's not listening, it's just that's all it is. So I wonder if Paul Simon, that's what he meant in writing that song. Y'all might think I'm cuckoo, I don't know. But that's going to do it for me. So till I see y'all again, I'll catch y'all down the road. Bye, y'all.